Have you ever felt like you're trying to write for two completely different bosses? I mean, on one hand, you've got your actual human readers, the people you really want to connect with and help. But on the other hand, you have the big, mysterious Google algorithm. It's the boss you have to please, but you can't ever quite figure out what it wants. Well, in this explainer, we're going to break down how you can make them both happy without driving yourself crazy. So, let's dive in.
First things first, we need to talk about what I call the web content trap. This is the #1 reason so much of the stuff we read online just feels, well, soulless. It feels like it was written by a robot for another robot.
So let's get real for a second. Why does so much web content just fall flat? You know the feeling, right? You're scrolling through page after page of text that's either super boring or completely misses the point of what you were even searching for. What's the deal with that?
Well, it really boils down to this simple fact. Most content is trying to serve two masters at the same time. You're writing for a human who just wants a clear, helpful answer, but you're also writing for a search engine that's looking for very specific keywords and signals. And when you try to please both, you usually end up pleasing neither.
This whole balancing act creates a couple of really common problems. On one hand, you get content that's so stuffed with keywords and technical jargon for Google that an actual person can't stand to read it. And on the other hand, you get content that's so fluffy and vague that Google's algorithm just looks at it and says, nope, no real value here, and skips right over it. It's a classic lose-lose.
And look, this isn't just about bad writing. It's about bad business. The bottom line is, businesses miss chances to build trust and authority through content that actually teaches and converts. To put it simply, that mediocre content isn't just boring your audience, it's actively costing you potential customers.
Okay, so how do we climb out of this trap? Well, it takes a little shift in how you think about writing. And the solution, in principle at least, is surprisingly simple. You have to start writing for humans first.
This right here, this is the secret sauce. The absolute best content, the stuff that really ranks high, the stuff that gets shared, always puts the human reader first. And you know what the cool part is? When you create something that a person genuinely finds valuable and helpful, the search engines, well, they usually end up loving it too.
All right, so theory is great, but how do we actually do it? Let's get practical. Let's roll up our sleeves and break down a super powerful 5-step blueprint for writing content that just plain works.
So here's the game plan. It's a pretty straightforward 5-step framework. First, you start with empathy. Second, you use short paragraphs so people can actually read it. Third, you add proof to build trust. Fourth, you include some FAQs to cover all your bases. And finally, you wrap it up with a really clear call to action. Let's dig into each one.
Step 1 is the foundation. Start with empathy. Before you even think about mentioning your product or your service, you have to show the reader that you get it. You understand their problem. You need to call out their specific pain point and then immediately promise them you have a solution. That creates an instant connection and gives them a really good reason to stick around.
Step 2 is all about scannability. Just think about how you read stuff online. You don't read every single word, do you? Of course not. You scan for interesting bits, for headings that jump out. So those giant walls of text, they're a massive turnoff, an instant back button click. By using short paragraphs like 2 or 3 lines max and clear subheadings, you make your content feel way more inviting and you show that you respect your reader's time.
Next up, step 3. You've got to add proof. Look, in a world that's just full of noise, anybody can make a claim, but very few people can actually back it up. We're talking about a specific statistic, a glowing customer testimonial, or a real-world case study. This kind of evidence is what builds real credibility. It's what turns your marketing into something people can actually trust.
Now, step 4 is a really powerful one. Add an FAQ section. Think about it. For your reader, it's incredibly helpful, right? It anticipates their questions and gets rid of any last-minute doubts. But for Google, oh, it's a goldmine. It's full of clues about what users are looking for and tons of those long-tail keywords. This can give your search visibility a serious boost. It's a true win-win.
And finally, we land on step 5, a crystal clear call to action. You've done all the hard work. You've earned their attention. You've solved their problem. You've built their trust. So don't just leave them hanging. Guide them. Tell them precisely what the next logical step is. Whether that's book a call, download our guide, or read this next, make it obvious. Okay, so you've put in the work, you followed this human-first blueprint. What's the payoff? What actually happens next? Let's talk about the good stuff, the real benefits you're going to see for both your audience and, yes, your search rankings.
because this is what it's all about. When you get this right, the results just naturally follow. You'll start to rank higher in search, people will actually stick around on your pages longer because they're engaged, and most importantly, those engaged visitors are way more likely to become actual customers.
So it really boils down to 3 key results. First, because your content is easier to read, you improve what's called dwell time. That's just a fancy way of saying people stick around longer, and that's a huge thumbs up to Google. Second, your overall SEO visibility just naturally starts to climb. And third, you start building real authority in your space, which brings in better and more qualified leads.
So, we've walked through the whole thing, the problem, the solution, and the exact steps you need to take. The only question left is, what are you going to do with it?
So here's the thought I want to leave you with. Your audience has a problem. They're searching for an answer right now. How is your next piece of content going to be their solution? If you can answer that question honestly and effectively, you're going to win over both people and Google every single time. Thanks for tuning in.